Welcome to Beyond Sunday. I'm Brandon Walters here with James King, and we're back.
Here we
are.
Do
it again.
We're doing it again.
Lots more to talk about. James, today I want to talk about something everybody deals with, and that's tribulations. And where in the Bible Jesus says, in this life you will have tribulations.
Yes.
But be of good cheer. Let's talk about this be of good cheer part because you know when you're dealing with these tribulations, that's the last thing you're thinking of. So give me your take on that.
Well, you know, the Bible is full of stories about people who have had many, many challenges and have overcome them. And I think it just really represents the human condition, you know, that the dark night of the soul is the idea that it's night, which is the opposite of day. When you're walking in the light, you can see clearly. You know, everything is exposed and open, and you know where you're headed. You see your path before you. But when it's dark, it's difficult to see, and it's easy to stumble. It's easy to fall. And so the dark night of the soul and tribulation is part of the human condition because we are out of balance. And so in order for us to get in balance, we will go through experiences where I believe that they're transformative, you know, they're transformational. And so most of the time we don't look at it that way. You know, when we're going through a troubling situation, we don't look at it as transformational.
Yeah, we're just trying to get out of it.
Exactly, yeah. But the number one key is to realize you have to walk through it. And that means you have to accept whatever darkness comes, whatever negativity shows up, whatever problem, whatever challenge, whatever trial, whatever tribulation, whatever experience, you accept it and you affirm that it is not something that is not supposed to be there. Because if it's there, then there's a reason for it being there. And so the more accepting you can be of an experience, then the quicker and the faster that you'll be able to walk through the dark night.
Well, there's an instinct, a strong instinct to try and fix it. You know, try to fix it yourself. And and it sounds like it turns out you really have to just surrender it, which is a very difficult transition there because, you know, we are of this world and it's hard to not want to try to fix it when it's broken. Yeah,
and so I think it's okay to try to work on things because sometimes there are physical reasons why we experience mood shifts, that we experience various states of mind that are, you know, depressive and oppressive and those kinds of things. And so I think it's and I've read books, you know, there's a lot of research out there that our brains aren't balanced in the way that they used to be because of the nutrition that we get today is not as wholesome and healthy as it used to be. So we're not getting the right kind of minerals and supplements into our brain so that we can feel good, you know, so that we can cause our mood to be, you know, to be better. And so, you know, I think we should work on those things and try to fix, quote unquote, is the best we can. And we try to be around positive people, be in positive situations. But the key is not to be in denial. Okay? There's a difference in accepting something and being in denial about it. Denial is something you don't want to be the king or queen of. Okay? You want to be able to whatever comes your way, you just deal with it. You face it head on and you work with it as it is and accept it, and then you'll move through it faster.
It seems like there's a disconnect there with, I've got a problem. And by the way, it wasn't if you have tribulations, it was you will have tribulations. So you could be going along hunky-dory and then bam, you know. And I don't know, I guess there's a school of thought that says that is you have to go through that to expand, to become the bigger person you want to be.
Right.
But there's this thing about when problems come, you want to try to solve them.
Uh-huh.
You know? And I guess some of these tribulations, when they become real tribulations, they're unsolvable by you,
Right.
by ourselves. I mean,
Yeah.
and then we have to rely on something bigger.
Exactly. And I think that's probably the real reason that we go through these experiences, is because we're not totally connected with the higher energy, the higher source, the God mind, the God power, you know.
Is that the out of balance you're talking about?
Exactly. We're not in alignment with our true source, with our true nature. And so that dark night comes along as a teacher to show us where we're out of balance. And in that time, we see ourselves kind of from a dark place. You know, we see ourselves in the shadow, and our shadow traits begin to come out because we don't like the dark night. And so sometimes it brings out the anger that's inside of us. You know, it's like one time I was walking through a hall in a hospital, and the guy was mopping, and the bucket was full of dirty water. And so I was trying to walk around him, and I accidentally hit it and bumped the bucket, and some of that yucky stuff came out. And so that's kind of what happens to us. Sometimes our bucket gets bumped, and whatever's at the bottom sometimes needs to come out. We need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of the toxins, the poisons. And so we need to be aware of it. We need to see it. And until we do, you know, we're not going to be whole. And I think, to me, that's the whole goal.
It's almost like you're being forced to
Yeah.
get back in balance,
Yeah.
or stay in the misery, I guess.
Yeah, and so the thing of it is, we signed up for it. Okay, if you're in this world, then that means you saw the brochure, Planet Earth.
You agreed to the terms and
You
conditions.
agreed
Okay.
to. Maybe you didn't read the fine print.
Well, it's really long. The terms and conditions are
I
very
know,
long.
I know.
I was busy on that astral plane.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, we signed up for it. You know, and so the key is the more we can accept whatever is, and just allow whatever comes our way. You know, whatever shows up, whatever ugly, bad, awful thing shows up, and just deal with it. Because what I have discovered, and I think many people have discovered this, is what gives you wisdom. What gives you wisdom is when you learn discernment, and you learn how to deal with those challenges.
Well, let's talk about that. How do you deal with it? I mean, we just talked about I can't fix it.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So how do I deal with it when
Yeah.
it's just, you know, in a lot of cases devastating?
Yeah.
How do I deal with it? Where does my mind go?
Yeah. Well, like I said, first is acceptance, and then you just walk with it. You talk with it. You know, I believe that they're, you know, and Carl Jung talked about this. Carl Jung discovered that inside of him was a whole city, okay? Was a whole city of people, all kinds of people. There was homeless people in there. There were hungry people in there. There were busy people in there, you know, all kinds of things and were inside of him. And so, since you're the mayor of your city, you know, you want to learn how to get everybody, you know, working together inside of you. Get all of those archetypes, all of those symbols, all those pieces and parts of yourself working together to bring you to a place of wholeness and wellness, you know. And so you talk to them, right? If you ever have a problem with anybody, okay, the first thing you need to do, and this is a principle in Matthew, says you go to that person and you talk with them and see if you can make amends. And so there are parts of ourself that are alienated from our conscious awareness, okay? And so what we need to do is we need to sit down with that, possibly that little boy that's inside that was that had gone through difficulty at an early age, and you sit down with that little boy and you reason with him. You say, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, you're safe now. I'm here for you. I'm not going to leave you, you know. And you reassure those parts of yourself that you're going to make it. You know, you're going to be okay. Because we all need that nurturing quality. And a lot of men don't get that a lot of times because, we're men,
Yeah.
and so we don't know how to be nurturing and to ourselves. And it's what a mother tries to give their children, tries to love them and care for them. And so we have to learn how to do that for ourselves. And so it's kind of difficult sometimes. But the key is to tell yourself what you need to say to yourself, whatever that is, and to nurture and nourish yourself with words and with feelings that you need, because we all need to be cared for. And so self-care is one of the most important things. If you don't have self-care, it's like people want to go out and save the world and change the world, but at the same time, they don't care about themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. And so until you take care of yourself and get yourself balanced, and that's the whole key, is the word balance is just so powerful. When you balance the scales, you enter into a state of where the zero rest balance point, where you can go anywhere, do anything. You can, and you're not weighted down by those issues. And so that's the dark night brings out those things, the tribulation. And in that scripture, when Jesus said, "Be of good cheer,"
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, he said, "Because I have overcome the world." And the word world there is not the planet. The word world is the system that he lived in at the time.
World?
The outer system, the thought realm, the belief realm, the attitudes that existed at that time. And so we live in a different world today, okay? But similar situations, is just on a different level. And so overcoming the world, really, if you take it down to the nut, it's the nut.
The mind.
The mind.
Yeah, I've
exactly.
overcome the temptation of the mind, or the doubt.
Right.
I mean, let's talk about doubt. I mean, it seems like that's number one, where the tribulation even comes from, almost, or it keeps you in that tribulation.
Right.
Is letting that doubt get in there and really get hold of your mind.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's how do you release? And I would say one is you got to keep out the doubt, but how do you do that? I mean, what do you got to? How do you replace it? Do you you fight it? Do you just say forget it? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, doubt is not necessarily a bad thing, but we interpret it as a negative thing, because there's some things we need to doubt. We need to question. We need to ask questions and say, is this really true? Is this really true? But
that's what Snopes was built on.
Right, exactly, yeah. And you get these emails, is it true? I mean, really? So doubt is, to overcome doubt, you have to overcome that feeling, that lack of self-worth and self-esteem, that lack of, I do not believe in me. And that's what it really is.
That feeling of lack.
Exactly.
And limitation. Exactly. Because it's been the hardest thing, as I've learned about this, the hardest thing for me. I mean, it makes perfect sense that I am a divine child of God.
Right.
How could there be lack and limitation?
Right.
And if I can turn that over, these tribulations over to that mind, then how could it not be solved?
Right.
But knowing it and doing it are two very different things, and it's not easy. And so do you have any recommendations on that?
Keeps us, and here's the question you need to ask yourself, okay? What is keeping me from moving ahead and overcoming this, okay? What is keeping me from doing it? Because the dark night of the soul, what it really is we bought into the teachings of the world, okay? Which are doubt yourself. As soon as you go to school, you're told that it's not about you, it's about the teacher, it's about what you're studying. Well, that's important, but that's not what it's really about. What it's really about is you. And so we don't have confidence that that we deserve to be here. You know, we're told that, you know, line up and be like everybody else and walk this way and don't do that and don't cut your hair or cut your hair and or don't chew the gum or whatever it is, you know.
You kind of buy into you're just a human.
Yeah, yeah. And,
you're just like everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And that old thing, you know, in a lot of the religious circles about, you know, you're a sinner, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that has been inside of us for a long time because it's been programmed into our DNA. And so there's a lot of stuff to overcome. But
be of good cheer.
Be of good cheer because I have overcome the world, Jesus said. So but overcoming the world is just basically you can only think one thought at a time. You know, you can only focus your attention on one thing at a time.
And you get to choose it.
And you get to choose. Exactly. And that's the power of choice. And self-empowerment is when you're always giving yourself a choice. You know, I have a choice here. I can choose to be down, or I can choose to look at this as something that's going to work for my highest good, that's going to work for my positive good, and I'm going to work with it. And then, because there's several scriptures in the Bible that say that the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hidden in the dark places. Okay? So it's the idea that as you jump into that shadow part of yourself and that negativity, and you make friends with it, you know, you learn about it, you figure out why you do what you do without judging yourself.
Find the treasure.
Yeah, to find the treasure, because there's something that it is protecting that it doesn't want to let go of. And once you're able to, you know, make friends with it, then it'll open the treasure up to you, and then you can see what it is that you need to learn.
Okay, so to wrap up.
Yes.
There's some folks out there going through some tribulation right now.
Right.
What's one piece of advice to start doing right now you can start doing?
Yeah.
Tell them right there.
Okay, all right. The key is, number one, you have to accept what's happening in your life, the challenge that you're facing, whatever it is. Because as you accept it and look at it and make friends with it and make peace with it, study it, work with it, then it will unfold its treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And through that, you will become a better person, and it will work for your highest good. I guarantee it.
So I appreciate you talking about tribulation today. I think it's something that just about everybody can connect with on one level or another. And I think that's very helpful. So I appreciate you being here with us again today.
Thank you,
Thanks
Brandon.
for watching, and we'll catch you next week.